Spera, and this is the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 140. Randall says we can start. Recorded live Sunday, August 3rd, 2025, live from iTechGear Central. As I said, I'm Christopher Spera, the editor-in-chief over here at iTech.org. And this is where all of the magic kind of happens. Wouldn't you say? I mean, this is really...
If by magic you say we said we're awake, I guess so.
Okay, thank you.
Somebody tell our audience who the hell Randall is.
Well, it's and his opinion is more important.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay.
Because of course, you know, we have those dulcet tones. That's the editor here at iTechGear.org and the former contributing editor over at Gear Diary and the late great Pocket. Now that's Mr. Chris Gavula. How are you, sir?
I'm good, and of course, Randall is here with me.
Yes.
This is Randall. For those of you who don't know, Randall is my white Persian cat.
Yes.
And he dictates what we're doing at the moment. He has said it's okay to proceed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Randall.
And of course, those dulcet tones. That's the editor here at iTechGear.org, and of course, the former co-owner of WUGNET Publications. That's Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. I have to admit, Randall is a very, very pretty Persian cat.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
So he really is. He's a good-looking cat.
He's getting up there. He's 14 years old, guys.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's doing good.
Things are good on my end, but again, one of my favorite sayings in life has never been more true. I'm going back to work so I can get some time off.
There you go.
Oh, gosh, knows that's the case.
This pro bono stuff is not any.
Of course, I used to work for a company whose company lawyer said, I would say to him Friday, I'd say, have a good weekend. And he would say, yes, only 48 more work hours till Monday. So there you go, guys.
That's true.
It's either that I used to look at some of the people that I used to supervise, and I would say, you know what? You guys did a great job this week. You take the next 2 days off. Said that on a Friday afternoon, you know.
So helpful.
How many fingers did that get you?
All of them. All of them. I was number one all the way around. So there you go.
I'm sure you were number one all the way.
You know who? Yeah, you know who else is number one?
Well, let's have a talk about our other partner in crime here.
Massimo.
Because not Massimo, not just Mo. Before you go there, though, we have to mention that Mr. Joel will not be with us.
This is true.
Brother
Joe McLaughlin is off at the Mammoth March again. All right. He did in fact conquer it. So way to go there, Brother Joel. So he
off
will
to
not.
Texas now, isn't he?
I think so. He finished the march
and
then marched his butt right on a plane to go and help
right on folks.
He's taking part in a mission with his church down near the Texas border. So way to go, Brother Joel.
Off he goes.
Yep. But
good luck, guy.
As I was saying, you know who else is number one?
Oh, well, with a bang.
Massimo. Yes. Because apparently the
let's explain who Massimo is,
the SPO2 sensing that sensor that's in the Apple Watch and was active for just about everybody won't be coming back to the Apple Watch anytime soon. Now let's go ahead and step back before we cha-cha forward just a little bit, and let's talk about this. What am I talking about?
Yeah.
So about I want to say late 23, a company named Massimo filed a patent infringement lawsuit against Apple, and they were able to show that the technology that Apple was using in Apple Watch was very close to theirs. That they had, and at the time, it was completely hypothetical. At the time, it was absolute. They had nothing. They had no product. They had no prototype. They had nothing but a bunch of paper that says, if we were to do something, this is what we would do. All right. And they were able to actually get a court to side with them. And in early 2024, Apple had to, quote unquote, remove blood oxygen monitoring from its Apple Watches. Now,
something very important that you can't leave out of this story is The court was provided with evidence by this company, indisputable evidence that this company had
Mhm.
intended and had documented its intentions to present this stuff to Apple to try and get them to buy the technology
Yeah.
long before they did. So that was
Well,
big in the court's decision
it's
there.
Did they
probably
not?
one of the things
Did
that weighted over and pushed it over the edge.
didn't
Yeah,
Apple also get one of their employees?
More than one, I thought.
I don't
Or
know.
But
yeah, I mean,
yes,
didn't they?
I don't remember that, but
but yes,
could
they
have.
they did poach an employee or two from Massimo, and
Yeah.
which didn't help them in the long run as far as this suit is concerned.
No, it didn't.
But what they've done here is um, this works with the general sensor that Apple has got in the Apple Watch, and it specifically looks for certain things within the bloodstream. So, what they are able to do via software is turn this thing on and off for those Apple Watches that were already released and already in the hands of end users. Um, you got to keep it. You didn't have to, you didn't do, they didn't send out an update that turned it off. All right. However, any new items, any new Apple Watches that were sold after that date where they were required to turn it
So,
off had
mm,
had that particular sensing software turned
so,
off.
but let's
So
explain why that is. So it's not in regular U.S. court or anything like that. This was the
no.
International Trade Commission that
Yes.
ruled that they could. So they basically, that's why they're in a situation where existing ones could keep running it
Right.
because the Trade Commission can't do anything about that. All they
Right.
can do is stop new products, and
Yes.
that's what they chose to do.
Right.
So
Right. Now
that's
you have
why
to
some have
understand.
it, some don't.
Yes, but you have to understand, also have to understand this is an interesting piece of information as well, that this goes back to the Apple Watch 6. All right.
Apple Watch 6. Yep.
All right. So this is now 5 or so years in the making. All right. And we still aren't at a point where this software can be turned on. Now the
And
Massimo um uh changed CEOs back in February of this year, and there was some hope that this new CEO would be more accepting of some level of settlement with Apple.
mhm.
But unfortunately, doesn't look like that's the case because we are hearing crickets from Massimo, and Apple is still trying to get this thing resolved. Now, as recently as the 7th of July, Apple and Massimo were back in a U.S. appeals court. Um, and Apple was arguing that the ban that was placed on the watch should never have been put in place and they want it removed entirely. All right. Um, and at least at that time, the judges seemed potentially sympathetic to the argument because Apple's lawyer, Joseph Mueller, was saying that at the time of the filing, as I said earlier, the device and the patent was based on were completely hypothetical. They had nothing. All right. They
You
didn't.
know what further muddies the waters in
Yep.
this case
Yep.
is that apparently there's only one kind of technology. It's not like Apple can say, okay, hell with you, we'll go figure out some other way to do it. There
Right.
is another way to do it. And nobody
Yeah.
can figure one
Well,
out anymore.
what's interesting though with all of this is if Massimo's patent at the time that this was going on, there was no hardware, there's no software.
But they did have a patent.
But they did have a patent for an idea. There are blood oxygen sensors in my doctor's office right now, all right, that operate very similarly to what Apple is doing on your wrist as opposed to what those devices do
And,
on your
and whose
finger. You know,
technology are they using? Are they using
that I don't
Massimo's
know.
technology?
That I don't
Are they paying Massimo's for that technology? They might
I
be.
have no idea what the doctors, what those device manufacturers are
Hmm.
doing. All right. But
Yeah.
those have been around for a while, longer
Hmm.
than this has been going on. All right.
I don't know if it's longer than that because they've only been in the last few years, but
Well,
I know what you're saying. So, but because Massimo's suit goes back to 2020.
Right.
That's their initial
It goes
suit.
back about, like I said, it goes back about 5 years,
Yeah,
5 watch
yeah. So
versions ago.
they're back quite a ways, but they
Yeah.
sued way back then. So
Yeah.
it isn't like
So,
Apple was doing it for a number of years before Massimo sued them.
right. So as of
Huh.
just a couple of days ago, as of this particular recording, no judgment has been made on
Right.
Apple's appeal. So there's still a chance, right, that Apple doesn't have to fork over a buttload of cash or some kind of licensing agreement or whatever. Ultimately, I think that in at least in some part, because at least now, as of now, that device based on the patent that Massimo had is now created. All right.
Yes,
So,
yes.
um,
Well, and but the good news for Apple fans or people who have these devices
mhm,
is that the hardware is continuing to be shipped in those devices. It's just being blocked by software. So the
right.
reality is, if they could settle it tomorrow, Apple could turn on the feature the
They
next
could.
day
They
easily
could.
enough. So
They could.
it's not like you're not SOL if you buy one of these products today.
Correct.
You know,
Correct. Well, potentially. Potentially. All right.
potentially.
Potentially.
Yep.
If you wanted the software to be active or the sensor to be active, you'd have to go and either get a refurbished or a used
Yep.
Apple Watch 9 or Watch Ultra or Ultra 2 even. All right.
A couple of the Ultra 2s, not all the Ultra 2s. Depends on when it was
Right.
shipped.
Right. If it's the black one, not so much. All right. If it's the titanium version and it was shipped prior to the January 2024
Mhm.
ban, then you should be fine. If not, you're out of luck until this gets resolved. I have a feeling, though. I have a feeling Apple's gonna have to cough up a little cash. I don't know how much, but I have a feeling.
But it's not like they don't have it.
No, no, but they're not a $4 trillion company yet. All right.
But there you go.
All right.
And they are one of those companies that will sit on principle forever
They
and ever
will.
and ever.
They
They
will.
like to do that. So
They will.
we'll see what they do.
Well,
But we'd like it as consumers. We'd like it.
we
So there you
yes,
go.
yes, because for an Ultra 3 or an Apple Watch
So
Series 11, it would be nice to be able to have that stuff and then all that stuff, backfilled back before for
now Timmy's not talking too much about this at this point. We're sort of waiting for the court to do their thing. But
yeah.
what is Timmy talking about?
Timmy is kind of talking a little bit there was a town hall over at
Yeah.
the mothership. All right, they beamed everybody
Yes.
up. They beamed everybody up and they had a town hall to discuss all of its AI woes. And Larry, can you help me out here and help me understand what the heck did they talk about?
I will try. Well, we all know that when you get that memo that says you will join the all hands meeting at 2 p.m., here's the link. Click on it. You know stuff's about to hit the
We've
proverbial
all been there,
fan.
haven't we?
Oh,
Yeah, we've
oh, and
all
that is
been
there.
not a fun email.
No, well,
no.
just one day, only one day after Apple revealed its most recent financial results and fielded questions from the shareholders on its lag in AI, Tim Cook turned inward to his large company and said, "Okay, folks, we're going to have a powwow, all of you." And all
Hmm.
of you is
Yeah.
a lot of people. I don't know if there's any
Yeah.
software that can handle that, but evidently they have something. So anyway, he got on stage here with a meeting at the Steve Jobs Theater, and he stated that the AI revolution, and this is a quote from Tim himself, is as big or bigger than the internet, smartphones, cloud computing, and apps all put together.
Yeah.
He said, we have to and will make an investment in AI. Now, for him to say Apple must do this, Apple will do this, it's sort of ours to grab, he said. But my big problem here is he hadn't grabbed anything yet. And this is why he's in trouble.
Yeah,
So
he's
my
grabbed it
initial
air.
my initial take on this is that Apple is seriously late to the party, and Mr. Cook held this meeting, and he faces all these high-file defections to Meta's superintelligent labs. They are losing, I think they've lost what, three now of their high-profile engineers in AI.
They
So, I
have,
mean,
but
these folks are going out the door in Cupertino, but as we'll hear later on in this show, they're probably leaving for less money. But
they're
anyway,
leaving
what's
for
your take
less
on that?
money. They're leaving for less money because let's face it, according to Craig Federighi, who also took the stage at this all hands, all right,
Right.
their architecture was totally flawed. All right. There was a problem, according to Federighi, there was a problem between two different kinds of requests through Siri. One to handle local kind of device-based commands, setting timers, as an example, right? Uh,
Launching this app,
right.
putting that
Right.
kind of thing.
Answer this phone or call so and so, send this message, right? Um, and uh, those kinds of requests that were based on a large language model that was um, off-site or not local to that iPhone.
But might be because they're talking about a model there.
That
Yeah.
hybrid model though is and that hybrid architecture is really what the problem was. They realized that that specific approach wasn't going to get us to what he calls quote unquote Apple quality.
But one other thing though was, if I'm not mistaken here,
Yeah.
the Apple Siri team itself was really blindsided in this delay. They woke up one day and they figured out that there's something going on that's not going on that
Yeah.
should be
But
going on.
but
And
Larry,
then
they should have realized that something wasn't right before that. You know
they
what I mean?
probably should
Yes.
have, but I mean, they're fat, dumb, and happy coming to work every day, taking a paycheck home, and then all
Yeah.
of a sudden they're going, wait a minute, I
So
thought we were going to pursue partnerships with OpenAI and Anthropic and maybe somebody else, rather than continuing the in-house development. And now they're saying, okay, we're going back to in-house. Well, I don't know.
You
I don't know,
know,
and I would
go ahead.
argue that they haven't delivered nothing. That isn't
Oh
the
no, they have delivered
it's not.
something.
I would argue that they didn't go where they needed to go yet, and they still have a long way to go. But
Agreed.
to say that they've done nothing with this is very disingenuous. It really is. They
I,
have
I,
delivered
It's
some
not right.
things.
I
It's
would
not right.
agree with you, but I mean, when you look at things like Apple Mail and things on a
Oh, sure.
more consumer level, yeah, they've done a lot. But if you tell or you ask Gemini to do something, as I'll talk about later in the show, and see what it's truly capable of doing, if you told Siri to do that, Siri would say, excuse me, go find
No,
somebody else.
Yeah.
I mean,
again, there's a
that's where
variety of
they're failing. They
but
Yeah.
can't do
but
those
but
No.
things.
Gemini does it without protecting your privacy, so that's a challenge too. Whereas
Mm.
so there's pieces to that.
Yeah,
There's nuances to that.
there is that big concern because again, what is driving all of this? Data, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. Whose data? That's the other
My
question.
data, your data, Larry's data,
Exactly.
everybody's data. And the problem here is you don't want me to see yours and I don't want to show you mine. And that's the way that this
And
works.
I don't really want to see yours. So
Thank you.
we're good. So we're good.
So that works out for us.
Works out for us.
It does.
But all of
The
these things
problem here
add layers
is,
and challenges and complexities, and I get it.
yeah,
The
yeah, there
problem
are
is
challenges and complexities to it.
yours and mine and his are all up in the large language models, whether we like it or not. So now, when the large language models extract that information upon a request from one of the AI bots and give it to somebody, then our feelings are hurt. So,
But they didn't. But
Well,
I
it's
will
not.
say
It could be more than just your feelings that are.
feelings, that's true.
But my understanding in Tim's conversations, there were two kind of takeaways that I took from what I heard and saw and read and all that,
Mhm.
is that they are making the commitment, as Larry, as you just said a minute ago. They did not abandon the notion of bringing a third party product like was it Perplexity? Is that the one they were looking at? They talked about still possibly bringing that into the play. They didn't kind of shut that out of thing, and I think the whole thing was kind of staged, not as a "oh, look what we've done wrong" kind of thing, but more of a pep talk. And it wasn't just about AI. They did talk about other things too, to try to So there's some conversations they were having, about I think they're trying to rally the troops behind what has been a sequence of bad news kind of things and get them
Yeah,
kind of moving forward again.
probably correct.
Yeah.
It's a corporate thing. They're doing the corporate thing. I get it.
True.
Well, above all, these things just don't bode well for the biggest superstar in the tech world. They just don't.
Well, that's true. And they are kind of shelling out just a little bit of money to those folks that are on that team, aren't they, Larry?
Mm.
A little bit of money? I mean, a little bit of money.
I'm just
Let's
saying.
talk about a little bit of money.
Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about a
I
little
mean,
bit of
I
money
mean,
because that's
most
fascinating.
of us are well aware of what people
Mhm.
make these days in a particular industry. If you're in the tech industry, you can expect to make this, that, or the other, depending on what you do. And of course, influenced by where you are, you might make more in California than you do here in Tennessee. But by far and large, the salaries are quite the same, at least when you compare them with where you live.
All right.
So,
Now let's before we get to the actual numbers, I do want to say the median household income in the United States is $80,610 a year.
thank you for sharing that. The median income here in Loudoun County, Tennessee is 36,1200 or
Okay.
And
36,000
but so is the cost of
1200.
living. The cost of
Yeah.
living there is lower as well.
Yeah,
Try
but
try
then
living on
again, there's a
try living in
lot of
California.
blue collar workers here that truly live on that. But even if you got two
True.
people making that, that's not a lot of money.
But when we talk about these engineer salaries, these folks are mostly in California, where the cost of living is a lot freaking higher.
Oh, it is.
We have to
But
kind of keep that in mind.
regardless, the federal filings are out, they're public knowledge, and Apple is paying their AI software developers as much as, and we're starting with just the developers.
Yeah,
They
yeah, yeah.
start at 264, 200 a year.
So
And then an engineer thousand a
$264,000.
year. An
Yeah.
AI software manager, that being the person who probably manages a group of 30 or 40 or 50 of the developers, he or she starts at 378.7 per year. Then we go up to the engineers who are focused on the data. They're the ones that bring in the data and match it up or give it
Hmm.
to the folks that are doing the development,
Yeah.
and they are making around 468,000.
So near $500,000 a year.
Yeah, so let's put this in perspective. Across the US, the average salary for an oncology hematologist, physician slash surgeon,
Mm-hmm.
that's that person who can likely save your life if you happen to get multiple myeloma.
Uh-huh.
He makes 250 to 340 a year, thousand. That's it. That
Yeah.
doesn't compute to me, but
Yeah.
maybe he makes more in California. But other
Mm-hmm.
big tech
Yeah.
companies,
No, I get you.
Yeah.
other big tech companies also compensate their people well, but not nearly as well. Meta, they go between 120 and 480. Google starts at 109 and goes up to 340. And Microsoft is at the bottom of the barrel. They only make, I mean, they start people at 82.9, and the cost of living in Seattle is quite high as well.
That's
Trust me.
very high.
I
Well,
have
they're
a
quite a ways out of
sister-in-law
Seattle. They're quite a
lives
ways
out
out of
there.
Seattle
Well, they're
now.
they're in Redmond, but
And they
Yeah.
go to a max of 284. So,
so they're about
Apple is
half.
paying a lot of money for these folks. They really are.
Yeah,
Well,
I agree.
what's really, really, really frightening is that, I mean, if you take that top salary, that $468,000 salary that you had mentioned earlier for one of those engineers, one of those data guys, and you divide that by 26, right, where you get paid every 2 weeks out of the year, all right, you get those folks get $18,000 gross every 2 weeks.
Yeah, and
Wow.
they're paying three, four, $5,000 a month for an apartment, but that's a whole nother animal.
Yeah. But I mean, but still, I mean, that's just nuts though. All right. That's just absolutely positively just nuts. They're getting an $18,000 checking account injection every 2 weeks. You
Well,
know?
I mean, and I know that's true. These are not inflated numbers because I do know somebody who was an engineer at Apple. He quit 7 years ago. He'd been there 13 years and he made almost $500,000 a year. He
Yeah,
supervised a large team of people, but
right.
still.
Right. And that low salary that you were talking about that was which was around $260,000 a year. That's a $10,000 bi-monthly injection into their checking accounts. That's nuts. You know, honest to goodness, that's absolutely crazy. They're making more than some of the folks. Um, they're making more than some of the folks that in 2 weeks that or make in an entire year in a fast food job or in some kind of a minimum wage based job.
And truly are working equally as hard in a sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are. I mean, and that's crazy. You know, um, they're gonna go ahead and in 8 paychecks or in 4 months, they're gonna go ahead and make the median household income in the U.S. As far as 2023 was concerned, which is like I said,
Well, again, this
80
is why a lot of people left.
80,610.
This is
Well,
why a
I
lot of
think
people during the pandemic left
but
the Bay
the
Area.
the bigger point here, and not really the elephant in the room, but the point is you can't do these wonderful things that give us all these toys and these beautiful phones, and I don't care
Mm-hmm.
who you work for, without knowledge. And yeah, these folks went to school for probably 6 to 10
Well,
years to gain that knowledge. They had to
and this
pay
is
for that.
this isn't a kid just out of college either. We're talking about
No,
these
no,
are
No,
no, no,
no, this
experienced
is
no,
people.
somebody
no.
who's probably got somewhere between 5 to 15 years of experience. Five to
True.
15 years of experience.
And let's
So,
also keep in mind that during the pandemic, this is why a lot of people left the Bay Area because the costs soared through the roof. And so
yep,
to stay there was ridiculous. So I
yep,
get it.
yep. But
I
that's
get
just
how Apple got to these numbers, I guess is what I'm saying.
and I totally
Yeah.
understand that. I totally understand it. It's just it seems completely science fictionized, if you will. All right, it's completely crazy. Um, that there are people out there, quote unquote, everyday real people, because these are not necessarily managers, directors, vice presidents, senior vice presidents, whatever. All right. These are folks that are on the front lines,
Uh,
and are crunching the numbers. They're doing the things. They're individual
yeah,
contributors, and they're making that much money.
Yep.
So
it
yeah,
is
I'm
a
just
thing.
saying.
Well, I mean, then you can get into the professional sports, the athletes, and how do
Yep.
they command $15 million a year, et cetera.
Well, and well, while we pay teachers poverty level
Yeah,
Right.
around the country,
And
right.
police.
and police and fire, none of these
Yep.
Yes.
people make the money they should make.
Public servants. Yep.
No,
Yes.
never
No,
make what they should make.
I get that, but I
But
don't
we
want
shouldn't
to
go there because it's
no.
out
So
of our
anyway, so
control.
they're making a lot of money.
They're making a
Okay.
lot of money and they should be
Yeah.
so the point is if they're making that much money, they should be delivering something to Apple and they should be
Well,
delivering something to Apple users.
but you don't know. They might have been delivering something to Apple, but Apple didn't coordinate that mess correctly. So what they delivered wasn't usable. You know, that's not on them if they're doing. We don't
Oh
know how they're
no,
being
no,
directed.
no, no.
We know there's some problem with management in this. We already know that.
Yes, yes. Everybody now reports into Craig. All
Yeah,
right.
that should make it. That should make a difference. Good or
Yes.
bad, it'll make a difference.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
it's for the better, quite frankly. I think
I do too.
I do
Well, if
too.
nothing else, there's coordination and some central kind of thought control going on here, not a bunch of random separate projects happening. So that, yes, I agree.
I don't think they're incapable of doing things like Gemini and Copilot and whatever. I just think they're trying to figure out how to do that and still be private. Or keep
Hmm.
your privacy, I
I
mean.
think that's the big trick. I agree. So
True. And here's the thing. and this is just me. I could be very, very wrong, but I want to make this point and then let somebody go ahead and give me their counterpoint, as such, as it were, if
Uh-oh.
there is one. But I don't know that Apple's going to be able to maintain that privacy barrier that they
Maybe,
value so
maybe.
much.
They will.
I think they'll find. I think they'll figure something out. But yeah. But let's point out too that these engineer numbers we're talking about, these are AI engineers. We're not talking about
Yes.
all of Apple's
Yeah,
engineers.
we're not talking about your regular software engineers. We're
Yeah,
talking
yeah. So
about
let's make that clear.
specifically
These are specialists.
machine learning and AI
Yeah,
based
these are
engineers, and
specialists.
then
I get it.
I
and
got to
data
say,
engineers.
this afternoon, actually, early evening, when I was looking through this article, I actually went out and looked at
Ah,
all the other articles that talk about every position in the company called Apple and what it makes.
Okay.
These are normal numbers. They really are.
okay. Fair
They're
enough.
across the board.
But the Apple engineers have delivered us on something though, haven't they, Chris?
Well, yes, they have delivered something. I mean, if you are of the iOS or Mac OS persuasion, or even iPad OS persuasion, iOS 18.6, Mac OS 15.6, iPad OS 18.6 has been released. There were a few sort of, I want to say, code tightening, bug fixing things that were in this.
I think there might have been some security patches rolled into that too,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
whatnot.
And that's basically all that dot six release was. All right.
Yeah.
For both mobile devices, including the iPad.
Yeah,
As
there
well.
was also an Apple TV release, and there was also a Vision OS release
Yeah.
associated with this stream. So
So right.
they
So
went across the board.
the dot six release, I
Yep,
believe this is going to be the last 18.x release before the 26 is hit.
that's what they're
So
saying. Yeah,
yeah.
that's what the rumors are saying. But you never know, guys. Another security
Well,
hole or something like that. It could be something
something
else.
happens, and they've got to get something out.
Yeah.
They will, of course, but at
So
least I think this is the last one that was on the books,
I
the
think
last
so.
planned release, if you
I
will.
think you're right. I don't think
You
there's
know?
any new feature sets coming before 26 in any
No,
case.
no,
Might
there
be
should not
maintenance
be.
things, might be bug things, might be security things, but I don't think there's any more features coming before 26.
Correct, and they may
So
actually go into a dot release mode if that happens.
they
It'll be
might, they might.
18.6.1.2, whatever.
And there's the recommendations across the board seem to be go ahead and do this one because it does fix some important
Yes.
things. So
If you're still
most of what we're
running
seeing is saying do it.
iOS, if you're still running 18.5, whether it's iOS, iPad OS, TV OS, Vision OS, or even 15.5 on your Mac desktop for Mac OS, go install this and get that taken care of. It's a much needed update. So
Yep, that's what I'm hearing too.
that's just me. So anyway,
Okay,
yeah. So I'm going to
we're
go
gonna move,
ahead.
aren't we?
Say again, over.
We're gonna move, aren't we? We're
We
gonna move
are
on.
going to go ahead and move. And I want to go ahead and just check in with everyone. I'm trying to go ahead and get um, my Galaxy Z Fold 7 unboxing up to YouTube. I'm trying to find a way to get that wonderful little 5-second clip from Monty Python's Meaning of Life. You know, it's wafer thin. Into the video, and
Oh dear.
and Google keeps on choking at that point, saying, "Oh, it's a copyright violation."
Yeah, you
For
can't do that.
5.4 seconds worth of video. But anyway, so I wanted to go ahead and just check in on this. A couple of things. Um, Damn, this thing is thin. I've said this over and over and over in the unboxing, and it'll be out on the site. PDQ. If I can get it done tonight, I will get it out on the site tonight, but it'll probably be later later
Mm-hmm.
this week. But it'll get on the site ASAP. Just to stay timely. This is probably it is really razor thin. And it's a little bit. I'm afraid to open it up, to tell you the
You mean
truth.
it's thin as it's closed, it's thin, or it's thin
Both.
as you
Yes.
Both.
Yes.
Yes, because closed, this thing is as thick as one of the halves of the Galaxy Fold 6 or 5.
And it's only slightly thicker than the S25 Ultra, and
Right.
it's lighter
How
than the
about your
S25
iPhone
Ultra.
compared to your iPhone without a
Compared to your
case on?
iPhone, it's about half. It's about half.
Closed?
No,
No,
closed.
no,
He's talking
open.
Oh,
closed.
oh,
Open.
open, but
Closed, it's a little
still,
thick. Closed, it's a little thicker than your iPhone, a
but
tiny bit thicker.
still, that's a lot.
Yeah. But this, I mean, this thing is amazing. All right.
But it
But
weighs less.
it does weigh less, but you're going to give up, a number of different things. You're going to give up battery life, most notably. You go from a 5,000 milliamp battery down to a 4,400 milliamp battery. If you don't have a USB-C to C cable or an A to C cable, and you don't have some kind of a wall wart or some way to shove power through that cable into the Fold 7, you're probably going to end up with either a very, very anemic device by the time you get home at the end of the day, or a dead one. So you're going to need to put some power into it at some point during.
Wireless charging?
It
Yes,
does
but it's
support
slow. But
Qi
it's
2.
slow.
Yes, but slow
Yeah.
charging.
All
All
the
right.
charging is slow on it. It's not
Yeah.
fast charging.
No,
I think it's 25 watts, if I remember correctly, is as fast
something
as
like
it
that.
goes.
Something like that. But wired, it does support fast charging, and it's pretty damn quick. All right. So, you know, just maybe between 15 minutes to a half an hour, and you should be fine. If you're somewhere in between, right? Um, so so there's the battery life. There's the loss of the digitizer. The S Pen is on borrowed time, as we talked about last week. There's no digitizer, so the only stylus you're going to get is Steve Jobs' stylus, which is your finger on this thing, and that's it. No other stylus. You may get one of those rubber tipped styluses that don't have any capacitor in them or any kind of power or Bluetooth or whatever. But you'll get one of those, but you are not going to get any kind of powered or Bluetooth based stylus. Just not going to happen. Um, Other than that, though, I will tell you that based on what I've seen thus far, um, from the screen to the way this thing runs to is as light as it is. If there was a phone right now, based on what I'm seeing out of One UI 8 and this particular device, if there was a device that could get me off of iOS and into Android permanently, it's this device. As of this,
Don't be saying that to me.
no, no. We've been down that road with you. It's not going to
No,
happen with you, and that's fine. But for
Yeah.
me,
no, I just don't want to be tempted.
You're
ah,
you're still putting up with, if it helps you, Larry, you're still going to put up with Samsung bloatware.
yes.
Yeah,
It's still there.
yeah.
Yes, all of
And
those Samsung apps are still there. Samsung Internet.
Did you get one too, Chris? Chris G?
no, I
Okay,
debated it, but I have not bought one.
okay.
No. Um, this though, this is really it's there is an AI feature that updates itself throughout the day. It kind of gives you like a overnight briefing for the first thing that you do when you wake up in the morning, and then it gives you like a midday or a morning briefing, and then it gives you a afternoon briefing, an early evening, and a late evening briefing. And it just pulls in all these different news articles. You tap this one little widget on the device face on either you can see it on any of the screens, and it's really very informative. And if you're looking to keep up with what's going on in current events, this
Well, I
is a
mean,
great way
Apple's
to do
going to
it.
come out with one. We know that. But Samsung has always been first to the party with the hardware. They
Yeah,
always
Yeah.
have.
yeah, but
Well,
like I
yes and
said,
no. Yes and no. They were behind on their fold devices for quite a while compared to their Asian competitors. They were way
I
behind.
meant
oh, absolutely,
American.
absolutely.
On the
I meant
Samsung
under
with
did a little
Apple,
bit too.
with Apple.
Oh,
I
I
meant.
got
I'm
you. I
sorry.
got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
My bad.
Samsung.
My bad.
Right. But no, Apple will get there. Apple will get there if they release a foldable. Apple will
Sure.
get there. All
Yeah.
right, if they release a foldable, despite on how likely it may seem at this point, anything that anybody talks about or thinks is purely speculation on their part
Of
about
course.
Apple.
It'll come out when
Um,
they're ready, not when we want
Right.
it.
Yeah, I'm with
And
you.
that's well, we wanted it for like the past three or so years from them, right? Apple's
True.
on or Samsung's on its seventh iteration of their particular set of foldables, right? And both of them,
Sure
both
enough.
the Fold 7 and the Flip 7, are hitting home run after home run with every review site and every reviewer that's out there. If if you're looking for a way to get into Android, this may actually get you there.
And
All right.
going back to your comment about the pen, I was just looking something up online. Did
Mhm.
you know only 4 to 6% of people care about
Right.
Yeah,
Of
that's
writing
all
been
of
the
their
on a
story.
users, yeah.
smartphone? On a
Yeah.
tablet, yeah, but not on a smartphone.
Right. What really bothers me on the you're looking at a 7-inch diagonal screen here on when it's opened up. All right. And which is basically your mini tablet, right? It bothers me that even with something that's this thin, that's this light, that this portable, there is no digitizer support. The thing that
By
bothered
the
me the
way,
most.
sorry, minor thing. When you
Yes.
open it up, it's not 7 inches, it's 8 inches when you open it up.
Thank you.
Wow, wow.
Further makes my point.
It's big
It's
Yeah.
inside.
big. All right. It's big. The biggest problem that the Fold S Pen had was the fact that it was about three or so times thicker than the one that came with the Ultra series.
Ultra.
All right. And
Mhm.
That was a
it
perfect
did
little
not live
pen.
inside, it did not live inside the device. All right. Where it charged and connected once you popped it open through Bluetooth. And it really bothered me. That for all that the Fold was thick, that they didn't use that same stylus, and B, it was
True.
this ugly looking first grader big crayon kind of thing.
So
All
when
right.
this thing is open, I mean, when it's closed, Chris,
Yeah.
is it, what size is it? Is it similar to an iPhone,
It's
or
similar to an iPhone. It's like
it's
you're
very
carrying any
pocketable
other
then?
regular phone.
It's only slightly larger than the S25 Ultra
So
when
it
it's
can
folded.
go in your pocket and not be
Yeah, oh,
It
terrible.
yeah,
can go in
absolutely.
your pocket, can go in your shirt pocket for sure. Can go in your jacket pocket for sure. All
Well,
right.
I'm talking pants pocket, but
It should go
still.
in your pants pocket, for your front pants pocket for
Yep.
sure. All right.
Okay, cool.
I mean, it's a nice device. Fast, quick, thin.
Is it so
You-
people can go look at it? Is it in Best Buy yet?
Oh yes.
Yes,
Is it
this
okay?
week.
It's
This week
this
it's
week. It's
popping
in
up.
Best Buy, and you should be able to stop by your local carrier of choice and take a look at it there. This thing is really nice. All
Of
right.
course, keep in
I
mind,
will. I gotta
if
go
you
look
buy it
at
from
it.
your carrier, and I've bought a Samsung device from my carrier before, not only do you have the Samsung bloatware, you have your carrier's bloatware on top of it.
Potentially, yes.
And you
So
usually have a splash screen that sucks to
You
go
have a
yes,
along
splash
with it.
screen that sucks. I guarantee that.
yes, you
Yep.
do.
And you have to use their version of the firmware to upgrade.
Potentially,
So you
potentially,
no, not
yes.
potentially. I've had that with AT&T for years.
Well, I say
It's a
AT&T
problem.
is a little bit different. All right.
Not that
They're a
different.
little more stickier than other
Yeah,
carriers,
my
but
understanding is Verizon's doing the same thing, but
oh,
Oh,
if they are,
but
then that's new because they didn't used to.
okay, fair enough.
All right. And T-Mobile's been the kindest with all of that. As long as your device is paid off, they'll let you
oh,
do what
and not to
you want.
make a story out of it this show, but kids, if you're on Verizon, break out another credit card because they're about to do a price hike again.
Yeah, it's been reading that too.
When's it
So
gonna end?
yeah,
Yeah,
it is what it is. Okay,
it is.
so
It is.
Anyway,
So
it's a
I'm
good
glad that
thing.
you're back because I was trying to go ahead and you know, pull things together and wait till you got back. But you had a good time this week with some AI tools. Why don't you go ahead and tell us about that?
I did, and it's I think it's the kind of good time that anybody could have. You don't have to be a geek. In fact, it might benefit more a person who was not technologically inclined.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like most of us in our careers, I've played around a lot with Photoshop. I'm half decent with it. I'm a lot better with Pixelmator Pro, which
Mm-hmm.
is the Apple version and easier to use version of a Photoshop type application. But still, when you have an idea in your head and then you want to put it on on Canvas in one of these apps. If you're a really, really good graphic designer, and I'm friends with a lot of them here,
Hmm.
you're talking a couple of 2 or 3 hours from idea to completion. And literally, it takes that long. This is not the case, kids, with AI. I had a hair this week, and I said, I think I'll make a new profile image for one of my email accounts. So I fired up Gemini right on my dock on my Mac, and I told Gemini to make me create a profile image using orange, blue, and white, and to influence the design by the fact that I'm an Apple user primarily. And this thing started spitting out images that were unbelievably. I sent you guys a couple of them, but
Right.
I've got a couple more that are even better. And it's amazing. They come out full resolution. So you put them into Paint Shop, I mean, to Pixelmator or a Photoshop or Pixelmator, and you have a full res graphic that would have taken you hours to create. And they're literally gorgeous. Downside, of course, there is. You have no control over the process other than what I just said. Tell it to
Right.
make an image. You
In
can't get it
microseconds, right? In
right. And it spits it out in like 10 to 12 seconds. But then I said, take this image, and I dumped the thing right back into the actual image that it created right back into Gemini. I said, tweak this and do that. And it said, I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to do that in your region. So I don't know if my region
Uh,
means the United States
is
or
your
what.
Gemini a paid account or one of the
Yeah, yeah, I have a
free?
paid account. I have
So
a
you have a
paid
paid,
account.
so you're paying for the feature. Okay, gotcha. It's not
Yeah.
on the free version, I don't think.
Now I'm not personally paying for it, but it's on this paid enterprise account that
Yeah,
my
I think it's on the
organization
free
uses.
version. I don't think it's on the free version of Gemini.
But
Hmm.
regardless,
I don't think.
there's no doubt that AI has changed our lives, and it's going to continue to do so.
Oh
And
yeah,
I
yeah, no
know
question.
the three of us or the four of us, if Joel were here from day one of the day this thing hit the street,
Yeah.
we've always uh, talked about how careful you need to be. I get that.
You do.
But still, it's just amazing what this thing can do. So I mean, I went out and tried a few other things like create an image to do this. No matter what you asked it, it did it. And it did it just in a
See,
matter of seconds.
see, that's
So I was talking
amazing.
with I called one of my friends who's a graphic designer, and we talked about this a little bit. And she said, the only thing she said just what I said. The only thing keeping AI from her not having a job is her ability to talk with the customer and refine the product. Okay, I don't like this, change this. So you can't do that with AI yet. It won't do that.
Yet.
So
Right.
given this, I don't
There's
think
other
AI is not going to remove this
right.
technology role from the industry,
Right.
but it's going to make their jobs easier without a doubt.
Oh,
Anyway,
absolutely.
And there are broad categories that the AI will not make for you. For example,
oh, of course.
you can't say show me Mickey Mouse giving you the middle finger. You can't do that.
Yeah,
Well, you might
yeah,
be
It's
able to do
considered.
that now, because
That's
he's no longer copywritten. So,
yeah. That's probably true.
fair enough. Fair enough. But you see what I mean in general. You
right. But if
can't.
you were to go
So,
Yeah.
ahead and say, "Hey, do that with Woody from or Buzz Lightyear," you wouldn't be able to do that,
no.
right?
So there are very big limitations, but it's still a very
Right.
cool
Yeah.
technology.
Oh, it is. It's just it was I mean, I've done a lot with AI text wise, but I had not done any graphics, and I was very blown away, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it can do a lot of good stuff. I mean, I've had it create some really good country and gospel songs.
Oh my
All right.
goodness.
And
I've heard them. I know.
I've shared a couple of the country songs with you guys, and they're good. They're radio quality.
They're better than good.
They're radio quality. You know,
They would win the voice in a heartbeat.
um, I mean, some of that stuff is just amazing. What it can do. Um, so it I don't know what the future of music um has, right?
Well, I would
Or
argue that right now, forgetting the AI aspects of what that might be, even the current generation of music has a habit of being very, I'm going to call it pattern and rhythm based right now.
Derivative.
So there's a lot of derivative and there's a lot of repetitive things. And keep in mind that it was just a couple of years ago, the copyright laws had to change to increase the number of notes that had to be in the same succession before it would be considered a copyright violation, because they ran out of patterns, basically, for lack of a better description. So everything's derivative right now.
Well, when when a
there's a
comedy
lot of
team can
remakes
go
right now,
ahead,
too.
when a comedy team can go ahead and take one chord progression and come up with a song from Journey, Queen, Styx, Chicago, um, pull any of the bands from the 80s. I mean, honestly, it's an amazing thing.
And then you could tell it to put this together and make it sound like Willie Nelson, and it would.
Yeah, so far, it won't do that.
Oh, it won't
At
do
least
the
at least with the apps or whatever that I've been using, you
maybe the
cannot do that
style.
because as an example, I wanted the AI to pull together and write a country song and I used these words, in the style of, and then picked an artist.
Wouldn't do
It
it.
said that it would not do it.
Okay.
Okay. Well, they're trying to avoid lawsuits.
Right.
I'm sure.
I don't know. Well, I don't necessarily. I wasn't looking for Brad Paisley's voice. What I
No,
was
we understand
looking for
that.
was his particular.
But you don't need a
style of
voice to be a
comedy and
copyright
music.
violation. You just got to be careful.
You know,
Copyright's a very picky thing, so
it
I
is.
get it.
It is, but it's interesting.
It used to be easier in the old days. You know what I'm saying?
It kind of was.
You know what else? You know what else
It
we had in
kind
the
of
old
was
days?
easier in the old days. Come step in the Wayback Machine with me.
We're going in the
Come on.
Wayback, Sherman.
Let's go in the everybody get in there. It's a little tight. Come on. I know I put on a few pounds, but here we go.
Okay, Sherman.
Yeah. I want to go ahead and I want to take us back way, way, way back to the software station back in West Bloomfield, Michigan, circa 1982-ish.
That was a very sad place. No, I'm
It
kidding.
was.
I'm
Well,
kidding.
unfortunately, it was.
And it's not there anymore.
I was assistant manager, so yes, it was.
And it's not there anymore.
As a 16 or 17-year-old, yes, I was. But it was an interesting time. Today in history, and I saw this on Bing, and I thought it was kind of interesting. Today in history, the Radio Shack TRS-80 was launched today in 1977. And I thought, well, that's interesting because even though the home computing really started a couple years earlier, and what was the computer or computer?
The Altair 8000, or is it 8080? I forget what the model was.
Right.
But the Altair was out first, and then Apple One was out the next year.
Mm-hmm.
But 77 was our big year.
77 was the big year because it was the Apple IIe.
Apple II, not the E, just
not
the
2. Okay, the Apple II, and then the
TRS-80,
the Trash 80, right?
And my brain just stopped. The Commodore PET.
The Commodore PET, yes. So and that really kind of kicked things off and enabled places and enabled places
computing. It was huge.
Like my good friend David Copy and his former store, the Software Station, way back in the day, allowed us to be able to go ahead and A, sell hardware, and B, sell software for those.
Who of us did not have a Trash 80?
I didn't.
Never.
I never did.
Yep.
Never did have a TRS-80. I cannot say any Radio Shack computer after Windows 3.1 and 3.11 came out. I did have a Radio Shack 286 laptop and then their 386 laptop. All right. So
I worked at a store that specialized in Atari, the 400, the 800, and then later on the ST series and
yes,
and all those. But the point is that late 70s, early 80s, but that late 70s, early 80s was an amazingly glorious time for home computing. It was fascinating because everything was changing so fast back then.
Well,
so it's nice to get in the Wayback Machine. I like getting
there was opportunity available for just about any hardware or software manufacturer. Anybody who could get, anybody who had a 300 baud modem that could get on a bulletin board system, all right, and swap code back and forth with either the
Oh yeah.
sysop, who happened to be in his jammies sitting at his PC at the time, all right, while you were paging him, um, some other folks out in the ethers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was an amazing time. CompuServe was really huge back then, right?
Oh yeah. All those
So
dial-up
But
modem
you know what the
services.
first thing that happened when that all this stuff hit the street, the
yep,
first thing was disk distribution of pirated software. I mean, it was the first thing.
yep.
We had this
Yeah.
one guy that would live down the street, and he had this bevy of little
Well,
3 or 4 guys, and they were cloning disks fast as they could do
As
it.
fast as they
Larry,
could get them.
I remember even a little bit before that, they were doing that with the cassette tapes. They
Yeah.
were using
Oh,
one of
wow.
the they were using the decks, the tape decks hooked to each
Yes.
other to duplicate the tapes. It was insane.
Yes. So,
And
so
it
this,
happens still today.
but
And it happens
and
still today.
thankfully, I mean, you really got to think, you really have to thank those folks
Mm.
and in back in that time period, all of them, good and bad, because it got us here where we are today.
That's
Oh,
true,
that's
because
certainly
a lot
true.
of people would have never been exposed to all this without it.
Absolutely. A lot of folks,
You know,
including this group, all right, would probably never have gotten involved at all if it
you
weren't
know, you
for
know what else
Radio
came out?
Shack
You know
and
what
those
else came
folks.
out in 77?
Zork,
The Atari VCS, which was basically what we now call the 2600.
there you go.
That also came out in 77. So those of you who miss your Pong games.
Yes.
So there you go. It was a
Uh,
time. That whole period was an interesting
it
time for all this
was
stuff.
a magical time, and okay, so let's get out of this cramped room. Let's get out of
Let's come back. Let's come back to the
Let's
present.
come
Okay,
back
let's
to
come
the
back to the
future,
present.
because I saw this, and honestly, I the first words that came out of my mouth were really, really. So apparently Meta, you know who Meta, that's Facebook's parent company, right? Is they kind of sort of had a smartwatch. It was more etherware than anything else, right?
Okay.
But they announced plans for a smartwatch about a year or so ago, and apparently there's a very, according to Tom's guide, there's a very good chance that this thing could actually be resuscitated and come back to life with a camera on it in September of this year. Now I will see it when I believe
This
it.
is an
All
Apple
right.
car, I think.
You know,
Maybe.
it may be, but according to Digitimes, they're reviving this whole their smartwatch plans, and developing a new wearable with with a quote unquote potential built-in camera lens, and it's geared towards uh, uh, its upcoming smart glasses, which could be the rumored Meta Celeste glasses.
Yeah, well, they've had more success with the glasses than they thought they would.
Yes.
And I think that may give them a renewed interest in wearables. Although, again, and they don't talk about this a lot with the glasses, but again, all of this worries me because Facebook has not exactly been the best stewards of our data, and I don't like the idea of them
not
getting
even
more
close.
data
No,
as we walk
they are
around.
they're like a kid with a set of matches in a
So giving them
lumber
giving
yard. I mean, it's
I
bad.
personally, I'm not looking at any of their products. It's not happening. I had a Meta Quest and I've been very unhappy with it. I bought it before
Yeah.
it was Meta, right? It was
Yeah.
Oculus
It was
back
Facebook.
in the day.
Yeah, well, Oculus.
Yeah,
Okay.
Oculus before Facebook and Meta bought it. And quite honestly, I will never do it again because I
Well,
do not want them owning everything that I do.
so that's a good point. The bigger problem I see with this, regardless of what product they're going to pair, product or products that they would like to pair with it, whether it's these new Meta Celeste glasses, or whether it's their Ray-Ban Meta sunglasses or something else, they are really going to have a tough road to hoe and a large mountain to climb when it comes to watches from Samsung, watches from Google, watches from Huawei, or anybody else in China. All right.
Yeah.
Uh, 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 Watches from Mobvoi, which is your tick watch, and then Apple as well. Right. They've got a tough row to hoe. They've got a really steep mountain to climb in order to get comparable kinds of features, comparable build quality,
Right.
and then make an actual dent in that market. I don't want to say that it's
Yeah.
closed. I don't want to say that it's closed, but it's going to be very difficult for them to get into that market
Well,
when they haven't had when they're a brand new player.
Well, we talk about, in the mobile phone market, Windows Mobile used to have a lead until Apple, and then just slightly after that, Android came out
Right.
with those devices came out, and the reality is, when Microsoft finally came back into the market again with Windows Phone and its predecessors, it was too late. It was an uphill battle, and I kind of view this as a similar battle. It's a real uphill climb. Apple's certainly in the lead. Samsung has a good position in the market right now.
Yep.
And I don't see a lot of room. These other third parties are maybe in other parts of the world, but in the North American market, I just don't see it happening anytime soon.
Not in
we
the
could be
North
wrong.
American market.
Unless there's something really compelling putting a camera in a watch, I don't see that being a compelling thing. I just don't.
I see it having the same level of problems that the Google Glasses had with the camera.
I do too, because then there's privacy concerns and people saying you can't come in with that watch on.
You can't go to the bathroom with that watch on.
Now everybody's watches are going to be, screened or whatever.
Are they?
I don't know. I mean, come on.
So you're going to have a bathroom monitor? You're going to have a bathroom monitor?
So no. But
take your watch off and put it in your pocket?
No, I'm not. I'm not even thinking about that as much. Although that's a good point. What's going to happen in those environments, and that was certainly one of the concerns with the Google Glasses. But I'm thinking more like, I'm coming into a business. I don't know if I want you coming in with a known camera. At least with a phone, I can see when you pull that out.
And I can make you go ahead and leave the phone at the desk or whatever.
Right. When I can see it and I can make you do it. But now with this, it's a lot harder to do that. So now what? I just don't see this being where people want to go. But who knows? Who knows?
No, Meta, it appears to have a lot of new products, in the till now.
They have a lot of failed products in the historically cycles, right? Too. So who knows?
Mean, they've got these smart glasses. There's the MetaQuest 4, the Oakley Meta HSTN glasses, right? The Ray-Bans are an update to them. A watch could be good for them. However, they've really got to, like you said earlier, they've really got to watch what they're going to pair it to.
But even if it was a good watch, where's the rest of the ecosystem that supports the watch?
There is no ecosystem.
But Samsung has one. Apple has one. The third-party Asian ones, they leverage Android as their third-party ecosystem.
Yeah.
Where is this going? Because the Meta Quest doesn't work in conjunction with Android, even though it's essentially got some of the similar hooks under the hood. But what will this phone do? What will this watch do? I don't know.
No idea.
Assuming it's be Android, I don't know.
We'll have to wait. We'll have to wait and see who and what supports.
Yeah, I don't see it happening, but who knows?
Right.
Maybe.
But anyway.
I'm with Larry.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think maybe time to move on to our Windows segment. But you know what? I think we're going to go ahead and do that right after this brief message. Hi. This is Christopher Spera from iTechGear.org. I wanted to talk with you today about becoming a contributing donor to the site. iTechGear.org has been around for almost 15 years. In fact, our anniversary is just around the corner on January 10th, 2025. 15 years. Where has the time gone? I've never really asked for any kind of donations for the site. It's always been about me providing value to you, a site visitor or podcast listener. The iTechGear Weekly is now in its 4th year of production, and Chris G., Joel, and Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin and I are having a really great time providing you with some of the best free tech talk available from time-tested original internet writers, testers, site founders, and professional writers and editors on the internet. I truly believe that our crew has some of the best and most qualified pundits and commentators on the internet today. And we're not hobbled by any kind of sponsorship or affiliated relationship or other time bought posts. It all comes from the heart. Unfortunately, times are kind of tough. And since the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020 to 2023, yes, almost 3 full years, times have become increasingly difficult for small independent sites like iTechGear.org to stay afloat. I normally do this with a portion of the salary I make from the day job, but with the IT market so tight right now, it's really difficult sometimes for many to make normal household ends meet, let alone fund a site like iTechGear that might decide to bring in a buck or two. It ain't easy. If you find any of our content on iTechGear or from ITGW to be of any value at all, I would seriously appreciate you donating as little as just $1 to the cause. While we do have a Patreon site, it's hard to keep one website up, let alone two. And since it's really only me doing the work, our Patreon site hasn't really helped us at all. If you can make a donation to the site or to the show of any amount, I'd be forever grateful. All donations will go to site maintenance, hosting, podcast hosting, and everything iTechGear related. Donations can be made to my PayPal account at chris@itechgear.org. Make a donation. We'll thank you immediately on the next ITGW episode and voice our gratitude. I want to thank you. We appreciate your consideration, time, and attention. Now let's get back to the latest iTechGear Weekly episode. And welcome back to the iTechGear Weekly episode, number 140. Randall says we can start. And I want to go ahead.
Again. We can continue, he says.
Did he say it was okay?
He said we can continue.
Got the old pause up?
He does. He does.
All right.
Flip the tail a couple times. You know the drill.
I do. And, interesting though, from the Windows segment, we've got 4 interesting stories this week. Microsoft tops $4 trillion in valuation.
Well, they've been flirting at it for a while, so there you go.
All right. And the company in and of itself is ecstatic, while the employees are basically pissed.
Just go back to what I said. They're on the bottom of the scale, of the pay scale.
Well, they're on the bottom.
Be up there with Apple.
Number of different reasons, but there's a number of different reasons.
Which means the company's raking in the money.
Well,
them.
It makes the statement from Satya Nadella, that where he puts his hand on his heart and he says, "Boy, I really feel for y'all. It really bothers me." As he goes, behind the scenes, he runs behind the curtain, grabs that old bonus check, and laughs all the way to the bank.
I'm going to tell you, I used to work for an IT department where I had network engineer. Every time something would come up, we'd send him out there, and he was always dressed very nicely in a shirt and tie, unlike the rest of us slobs. Looked great, would go out to the customer. He would listen to their complaint, and he'd put his hands in front of him and shake his head and say, "How very unfortunate for you." That's how this feels, kids. Yes. That's exactly how this feels.
That truck down there for you, don't it?
How very unfortunate for you. And this is one of those things that corporate America, especially when we're led by financial firms, is doing this to everybody right now. This kind of crap. It's all about the investors. It's not about the employees.
This is true. And what really sort of annoys me is that so far there's been and I believe it's this year, there's been about 25,000 employees from Microsoft that have been laid off, including the 9,100 recently in July alone, right? Which was approximately 4% of its workforce. Right. the layoffs have basically been spread around a lot of different groups in the company, including Xbox, engineering, and management. And you want to know, and you want to try to figure out, well, why is this happening at Microsoft? They are really doing very well. They're one of two $4 trillion companies, right? And there seems to be some level of quote unquote incongruence when it comes to the number of employees that they've laid off and the fact that the company is thriving. All right.
Well,
Again,
it's a perspective
corporates,
issue too. It's
yeah,
just perspective. From the perspective of the employees, this is not good. From
No.
the perspective of the stockholders, this is wonderful.
Oh,
well,
oh,
it's a
hell,
matter.
get
It's a
me
matter.
if I had more,
Well,
10
again, it's a matter of
Microsofts, I could
goals.
retire, right?
It's a matter of goals, right? And what is your goal as a corporate entity? And their goal
Yep.
is to please the stockholders. It has
Mhm.
nothing to do with the employees. The employees are just a means. The employees are a means to the end.
To their
That's all they
goal.
are.
Yeah.
Right.
They're just a commodity. They don't care.
Right.
And
So
that's true of a lot of companies, not just Microsoft.
Microsoft is again that it's aggressive. They're betting that it's aggressive $80 billion
Yeah,
AI investments are going to pay off. Um,
sure.
and 80 billion dollars. And that's
That's
a
just
that's a
hard to
lot of
fathom,
shekels.
isn't it?
Those are Carl Sagan numbers.
Yeah, that is true.
That would make Mark Cuban take note.
Oh, I think any of those sharks would sit up and take note. All right. And they've got money. They've got money. All right. They've got a lot of FU money. All right.
They do.
They do. What really sort of blows my mind throughout all of this though is, I mean, Microsoft has to realize, all right, that while, those folks that are on the front line are the little people, and it's the company that, is really trying to do all this, and they're trying to make themselves, cash rich for whatever reason. They lay off too many of those frontline employees that are making, a big contribution. They're going to feel it in the end. And then those folks out on Wall Street who are, busy waving the green flags going, give us more, give us more, give us more, are going to be, ripping out the red flags and saying, you're screwing this up.
And we keep forgetting too that it's not only about laying off those people and putting those people out of work and all the things. It's what it does to things like morale.
Yes.
The company does not run well when everybody in the company is worried, frightened, concerned, upset.
Absolutely.
Insert your negative emotion here, that kind of thing.
Well, when they're busy trying to figure out, which end is up, and am I going to be able to make rent next month?
Right. Or am I in the next wave of layoffs?
Right.
And this is true across a lot of corporations right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And unfortunately, what's sad about it is when we see, and I've been through this as well, where you see the CEOs talking at a town hall or whatever like that, they often seem to be completely oblivious to what's going on in the trenches, and they don't listen or care.
And
they say appear not to.
Well, many of them do. All right, many of them do. You're right. Many of them don't have a freaking clue what's going on because there's so many levels of management in between them and the individual contributors that they don't have a clue. Those comments don't filter up.
But as you mentioned, listening to his speech, was a week ago, 2 weeks ago when he made this speech, I forget. It was very tone deaf. Very tone deaf.
Oh,
he clearly was not listening
tone deaf
to anything.
is a nice way to put it. And I mean this was
completely
insulting.
Clueless.
This was
well,
insulting.
I don't even think it was clueless. I think the thing that bothers me is, again, sometimes they're not aware. Like you say, they're just completely oblivious. I don't think this is oblivious. I think he's well aware.
Oh,
I think he has chosen.
I agree.
He has chosen to basically kind of whitewash the whole thing, and that's what's upsetting people.
And to your earlier point, Chris, this is the number one fear of every person who has a job.
Oh, sure.
Am I going to get laid off tomorrow?
Outside of the C-suite, yes. Outside of the C-suite.
Literally, it's number one.
Mm-hmm. Will I have a job
and,
tomorrow? Will I be able to
and,
make rent next month? Am I still going
and
to have my insurance benefits? Yes.
we're certainly in an economic wave right now where that is getting to be even bigger a fear than normal, and that'll happen. We go through these cycles, but
Well, sure.
the reality is these CEOs right now and whatnot are not helping, and Microsoft seems completely oblivious. And this just shows, this kind
He
of
doesn't
reiterates
care.
what we were saying. He doesn't care.
Right. And the way he said it, I want to express my sincere gratitude to those who have left. Their contributions have shaped who we are as a company, helping build the foundation we stand on today. And for that, I'm deeply grateful. Well,
Yeah, and I can buy the next
bless
pack of
his
ramen with it.
heart.
I
Bless
can
his
buy the
heart.
next pack of ramen with that.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks a whole lot.
Yeah. And by the way, it went up from 25 cents to 29 cents a pack.
Yeah. Thanks.
So,
Thanks for
Well,
sharing.
I mean, we're
Yeah.
not quite there yet, but our next story might have an impact on that.
It
Oh, that
might
would be good.
could, because you know what? According to Computer World, the Windows to Mac Enterprise switch is heating up. What do you got there, Larry?
I actually have something that I'm kind of close to here. One of the organizations that I support as their IT in a box person
Mm-hmm.
asked me to give them a white paper and a cost and deployment analysis on moving from Windows to Mac.
Mm-hmm.
And I crunched all the numbers and handed them the paper. And when their jaw got back up off the floor, they, of course, said, "Well, I think we'll stay with what we got."
Right.
But still, it goes to show that this is happening all across corporate America, and from one deployment win to another, Apple is slowly but surely exploiting this opportunity. And I think as businesses consider the cost and the consequences of upgrading their legacy crap, which is Windows 10 to Windows 11, and starting over with what seems to be a better way, i.e., switching to Mac computers, a lot of them will finally pull the trigger. They didn't have the impetus to do this prior to now, but now, beginning on October 10th or 24th, they do. It's just quite clear that the force needed to upgrade Windows is motivating all these businesses to move to a Mac. And I think you're going to see it. I really do.
I agree. And you know what really kind of hit me as I was sitting there and I was reading this article and reviewing it for the show. I was thinking about on the enterprise side. There are a lot of companies that are out there that at the server level are really running on Linux. All right. Some level of, Red Hat or some other flavor of Linux based server. And, they're not, when they're on Windows, they're not bothering with Windows, and the Windows or the Linux underpinnings that Windows now has makes it a lot easier for those admins to go ahead and service those servers. Wouldn't it be easy just to go ahead and pull out your endpoint layer at that point? You wouldn't have much to do at all.
No, but what I think
perspective and to make the
what I'm
switch.
looking at is a different type of enterprise. It's the smaller businesses under 250 employees. If there's 40 million of those out there, that's a lot of cash for somebody in Cupertino. But follow me for just a minute. If you are in charge of an IT department in a small business, 250 people or less, and you've deployed, let's say, a couple of hundred Windows machines, if you could get through the headaches of changing over to Mac, how sweet would your life be for the next 5 or 10 years?
Oh, hell.
I mean, think about it. Your trouble calls would be
they would drop to next to nothing.
Drop to nothing.
And those calls that you may actually have more often than not are likely going to be, hey man, I'm having a really hard time printing this document out.
Yeah, back to the printer. It'd be a printer
print PDF, dude. You don't need to print a PDF.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
let me clarify a couple of little things. First of all, Windows underpinning is not Linux.
No,
not
it's
exactly.
not. It's not.
It's not.
But
hang on. Let me finish here. But there is the Linux subsystem for Windows that's available if you want to run Linux Linux apps on it
for those sysadmins.
Yeah. And
Microsoft
has its own virtualization kind of technology that competes with VMware and some of the others out there. And
Mhm.
those two kind of things happen. But the Mac OS is based on BSD Unix.
Unix. But
It's
a lot
based
of
on
companies
Unix.
base their websites on Red Hat. They really do.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that stuff is actually really fairly portable to a Mac, to be honest with you.
And that was my point. And that
It's
was
part
my
of the
point. Wouldn't it
OS.
be
Yeah.
so easy? Just cut out the current Windows end user layer, that Windows endpoint layer, and it's so
Well,
easy to
they
switch
do have
over.
a version of they do have a headless version of Windows that you can put in environments. That does exist. So
True, but
Well, to quote one of the well, actually, to quote the CFO of Apple, he
mhm.
said that right now there is more. The install base of Mac in enterprise is at an all-time high, and it continues to grow astronomically.
Yep.
yep. So my understanding, and I read this article too, because I was kind of surprised that they had double digit growth
Mm-hmm.
in the quarter.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
For the first
double
time.
digit Macintosh growth for the first time in I don't know how long, and they made $1 billion more in the quarter than they did the
They
same
made an
period a year
entire
ago.
Sagan.
I made an entire Sagan more than they did the same quarter a year ago.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a lot of freaking revenue.
That's a lot of stars.
Well, it may not happen right
Yeah,
away,
there you
but
go.
eventually more and more companies are going to wake up and move to Mac. It's just going to
Well,
happen.
it
Well,
used to be, and I've worked for a number of companies over the years, and some were Mac, some were Windows, some were both. But a lot of times I would get, especially from IT folks, I would get when I'd say, "Oh, I have a Mac and a PC at home, but I only use the PC for work. I use the Mac for almost everything else." And they would
right.
say, and they used to say, "What would you do that for?" That used to be the reaction you'd get,
Yep.
and
Uh-huh.
now the reaction I get is that working for you? How does that work for you?
Oh,
What
that's
is that
so
about?"
cool. Why, tell me about
No,
that.
they don't say that's cool. They're not
I
quite
get
there
that.
yet.
I get
I don't
that.
get that from most people yet. I get that, huh, that's interesting. How are you doing that? And they want to know how I use it and how I
Mhm.
can, function with work stuff if I have to function with work stuff and what the differences are. And they want to know now. They're
Mhm.
curious. If nothing else, they're curious. And that's a big
Step
fundamental
one.
shift. It doesn't sound like that, but it's a fundamental shift in behavior. And that was IT directors. IT directors used to be the hardest ones to talk about to
Yep.
Macs, unless you worked for a company like an advertising company where you had a creative group that needed to be
Right,
on Macs.
right,
Unless you
right.
had that,
No.
they were usually the stepchildren. But
Yep.
now it's like they want to hear about it. They want to know, can I actually use that in business? Yes, you actually can. You know, when I tell them things like, some of the big tools that they use do
Well,
exist on both platforms, they're surprised.
one of the things that has facilitated this tremendously is cloud computing too. We didn't
I
have it
totally agree.
20 years ago. We didn't have it, or 25.
No, but I mean, Mac has all the big. They have support from Cisco for Cisco-based, network connectivity and things like that. They have support from Microsoft for their Office suite if you want to do that. I mean,
Yeah.
all the big things you would do are there. There's very few things that aren't there on the Mac if you want to do that. And if you can't get there, there are virtualization solutions from both VMware and Parallels that will let you run Windows in a subsystem if you have to do that.
Yep.
So you're there.
Yep.
You're there.
Very, very true. And I find it just amazing how
And Mac satisfaction is rated at 97%.
well, yeah. Yeah. The hardware is fantastic.
The hardware is
The
fantastic.
operating system is solid. It's hard.
Yeah,
It's hard. When I
it's
say, I mean,
it
it's
really is.
hardened. I mean, you don't necessarily, there's some malware and some virus activity, but
Much lower levels than you get on
much
Windows.
dramatically lower. All right. And to the point where most Mac users don't have to, they should,
Yeah.
but they don't have to run an antivirus
I
product.
I do happen to run antivirus on mine, and I will, continue to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a
But
personal preference.
It is.
it's a nice layer to have, not another layer of protection to make sure you
It
have
is.
something. It's not perfect. None of it's perfect, but
Right. But this is going to be similar to adding like a child gate to the
yeah,
front of the stairs, right? the kids don't fall down. They don't go up the stairs so they can't fall down the stairs. All right, or vice versa. You put it at the top so they can't fall down. Right.
Well,
There you
the
go.
other thing that
That's
people
about
don't
it.
realize that I bought my first Mac in 1999.
Yeah. See, I bought mine in 2006.
Okay, and I can count on one finger, the number of times that I've had the equivalent of a blue screen in Windows.
Well,
I've
that's
been
a good
lucky.
point, Larry.
I've been lucky.
You know, for many years ago, my mother started. She was a school teacher. They started
Mm-hmm.
to use computers in the school, and she said to me at the beginning of the year, "What am I going to do? I can't do this. What am I going to do? I'm too old. I can't learn this. I can't do this." By the end of the year, it's like, "What am I going to do? I won't have my Martha Stewart website. I won't have my email. I won't have." So the tone changed. So we got her a computer, and it was a PC. It was a cheap PC, matched kind of what she had at school. And I was constantly dealing with support calls for her blue screens of death and things that
Yep.
were happening.
Yep.
I gave up one year. I put her on a Mac, and it's been
You haven't looked back.
like butter.
Like butter.
It's been great. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I would never go back, and she would never go back.
No.
no.
So,
No. Um, with me, I mean, I've
so,
only
so
run.
I apologize. So, what I'm getting at is that sometimes the initial outlay frightens groups, frightens people when they see the
Mhm.
initial cost outlay. But I've got to tell you, you recoup it in support costs so many times
That's
over.
true.
You really
Absolutely.
do recoup it in other
You
ways.
do, because once the learning curve is not as steep.
No,
Do you remember the implementation of Windows 8 and how everybody lost their freaking mind? All right,
yeah,
after Windows was completely
Oh,
different. Was
oh,
completely different. Nobody wanted to switch. Nobody really did switch. Um, they went, if they either stayed on Windows 7 and jumped right to 10,
yeah,
or
they did.
or
Yeah,
if
they
they did
did.
go to an 8, they went to an 8.1 because it was more quote unquote 7 like. All right. There were so many people that bitched and moaned about, and that learning curve for Windows 8 was so steep. All right. The learning curve for Mac isn't even half of that. All
No,
right.
it's a fraction. It's
It's
the
a
learning curve
fraction
of
of
Mac
that.
is very low.
Yeah.
You point out a couple of things,
Yep.
people switch. It's not a big deal.
Yep. And that's it. And that's it, kids. But Microsoft is trying to go ahead and
Oh, yes.
they're trying, right? They're trying to entice some
I've
folks.
always considered them to be trying. What's your point?
Very trying, yes. But they are testing Copilot's new smart mode ahead of a GPT-5 rollout. Larry, what's going on here?
I don't know. This doesn't have what I'm about to say has nothing to do with this story, but I want to say it anyway.
Go
I
ahead.
Okay.
have to
Go for it.
say here on the show,
Yes.
it's getting to where I don't even want to talk about Microsoft anymore. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I mean it's a personal thing, so don't take it any other way. But every time that we read the news, the three or four of us here, it's another woe-filled story about something that the Redmond Giant is doing or screwing
You
up. And
know,
every week
and folks,
we
we
have
should
to
point out
spin
that
the
isn't just here
wheel.
on the show. We do this all week long, talking to each other,
yeah.
and we're
Yeah,
constantly
that's
And
running
it's
into
true.
this
recorded
stuff.
here on Sunday night. Yeah.
But we're
It's
running into this
just,
crap
it's
all the time. Yeah.
amazing to me how this $4 trillion company can be making such clearly stupid mistakes.
Stupid.
But
Stupid
so
mistakes, which is
anyway,
one of the
back to the
reasons why we
story.
keep on spinning
So
that
what's
wheel.
smart mode? What is this smart mode
Well, it
nonsense?
would appear that Microsoft is getting ready for GPT-5 as
Okay.
reportedly testing a new smart mode in Copilot. So, to quote here, the smart mode is available in both consumer and enterprise versions. It will automatically switch models to determine the best response. Whatever model it needs, it'll pull it automatically. It can choose between deeper reasoning. If the question's too hard for the first level of language model, it'll go to the deep AI mode, which we've all
Hmm.
experimented with. But supposedly this will do it automatically simply based on the actual request and the verbal request or the typed request. So I don't know. None of the Copilot interfaces mentions this directly, but given the imminent launch, which when's it supposed to be, Chris? I don't know.
Okay.
Early
6 weeks,
August. I think GPT-5 is supposed to come out in
6 weeks
early
from now,
August.
maybe.
Well, yeah. In fact, if you're on a higher paid tier of
One of the
Chat
rings.
GPT, you may actually be able to get access to it. Like, I think I had access to it the last or so week of July.
Well,
But
so here's
but they say for consumers, and here again, to my credit, I think this is one of their mistakes. They're
Right.
going to deploy it for us mere users first with Bing. Good old
Good
Bing.
old Bing. Yeah.
I mean, come on. Can't
Let
you
me,
just kill
yeah.
that thing?
Yeah.
well, and Copilot. So my understanding is Copilot's supposed to put out GPT-5 model like imminently, like any day now.
Right.
hmm
But they said generally OpenAI doesn't quote unquote formally release it for about 6 weeks after that.
Well, Sam Altman
So
earlier this year did say that they were working on a model, a new model that would let people not have to pick what version of AI they needed.
right,
It would somehow anticipate their needs. I guess this
yeah.
is the
Well, we'll
culmination
And
see.
of that
and
effort.
just get to
Was
them.
this before or after he
Yeah.
had to fix the language,
I
the
don't
way it was
know.
just the way it was talking down to people or whatever it was doing?
Well,
Was this before or after that?
I don't know. But if everything stays on track,
A
the
really
Copilot
great
smart mode
question.
should roll out publicly not long after we start hearing about GPT-5 in the news.
Okay, well, there we
So,
go.
I
well,
don't think we know that much about it yet.
yeah, AI. Ay. So,
Don't get
uh,
me wrong, I'm a fan. I really am.
But there's more, isn't there, Chris?
oh, but wait, there's more. Yes,
There's
Uh-oh.
Microsoft
always more.
is testing a new taskbar companion feature, and apparently it might be AI powered. Um,
Is this the
yeah,
Clippy nonsense?
y- you know, there's all right. So there are a
What
number
is
of
this?
different there are a number of different uh, uh, channels within the Windows Insider effort.
Sure.
All right, and I know that a lot of the a lot there are, and each channel is probably running on a different branch of the Windows 11 code. And it's at some point, they're going to go ahead and look at all these features that they've rolled out to different sets of folks on these different tiers, and they're going to cherry pick the ones that they want and combine them all into the next version of released Windows, whether that's 25H2 or whether that's Windows 12 or whatever the hell they call it. All right, but they seem to be working on a. If you remember last week, we talked about the new companion appearance. All right, well apparently companions is a marketing term with Microsoft, and they seem to be kicking off on that one particular thing. um, they're looking of adding AI actions to the taskbar. All right. Now, there isn't a lot of information on how this thing is actually supposed to come together or actually how it works. Um, but there were some folks on X that had spotted some particular features or um, uh, seem to see some behavior out of Windows that would say, hey, there's a new companion feature for the taskbar.
Hmm.
And it could be that AI feature that we're talking about or they've been talking about.
I'll be honest with you, this sounds a lot like the Copilot key didn't take off, so now we need something else.
Now, I bet you let's use the right mouse click.
Let's use the right mouse
Let's
click
use
on the
the right
taskbar.
mouse click because they do that anyway, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so,
Let's try and get them another way.
well, they're um, th- Windows 11, all these preview versions of Windows, they build the builds have a string for agentic computations for the taskbar, and this is the line with what Windows latest previously learned. So the AI actions for the taskbar and agentic companions could be the same thing, um, whatever that means. Um, look, it's going to be more than likely it's going to be something that's stuck under the personalization section in settings, specifically for taskbar. You've got Copilot there, you've got task view and widgets there. You're probably going to get this thing, um, And if you look at, if you're on the right build of Windows and you look at settings, personalization, taskbar, there's this wonderful little globe icon um,
Mm.
that kind of looks like Microsoft's networking icon when you're not connected to anything, right? That
Yes, isn't that the internet? I was gonna say, isn't that the internet icon?
Yeah, they've got it's got no kind of a label to it at this point, and it's toggled off. So they're thinking that that may be where this thing
See,
may
when I first
comes.
read that, what I thought it might be was I envisioned, like Chris Gavula said, the co-pilot key never really took off, but
No,
maybe they could put a button on the taskbar that would do away with the taskbar almost, except for the system tray. And you press the button, tap the button, and it opens up something like the old Windows menu that was over a popped up like the Windows
Yeah.
Phone. And maybe you could go from there and branch out. I don't know, make it simpler but yet harder to use. I don't know.
simpler but yet harder to
That's
use. Well,
what,
that's
isn't that what
Microsoft, isn't it?
Microsoft
That
does?
sums
That's
up. I was gonna
Microsoft.
say, doesn't that sum up every Microsoft feature?
That's
Yep.
Microsoft.
Jeez,
I don't
Well,
know.
you
I can't figure it out, but
look. Let me
that's because we're
let me
getting old,
just.
Larry. We can't figure any of this out anymore.
It's true. Let me just say this. Let me just say this, and I want to be very very specific and very clear for everybody. There's a lot that's coming with AI. It's going to change the way that you work. It's going to change the way that the operating system functions and the way that you interact with it. What will be nice is if everybody can get their crap together and be able to implement this in such a way that it seems intuitive even to those folks who are not the most tech savvy. Right now, that's not the case. All right.
Well, that definitely sums us up.
All right, that's
I'm
not that.
kidding.
That's true. Especially this group of knuckleheads, but
Hey, yeah,
as an example, I mean, if you were to use Chat GPT is not as difficult to use as you think it is. You
it
just
is not.
need to learn you need to learn how to talk to it. Okay?
that's true.
You need to learn how to talk to Chat GPT. You need to learn
You need to
how
talk
to
to it like a friend. I mean,
you
literally.
need to talk to it like it's the biggest, dumbest idiot you've ever known in your entire life and tell it
Well, you give
specifically
it
what
every
you want.
detail you think it should already know that it doesn't know, and
Right.
then it can function. That's pretty much what
Right.
it's
Well,
about.
there's that, but you need to be very specific with how you
And
tell it
that's what
what
I
you
mean.
want,
You,
why you
you
tell
can't
it what
assume
you
anything, right? You
no.
can't assume anything. You have to
No,
give it
you
everything you
cannot
want
assume
in
a
detail.
thing. You have to be very specific with
Hmm.
and most people are not that specific,
They are
especially when
not.
it comes to computing
Well,
and
again,
working
because
with
we
a
make
computer.
assumptions. When we talk to each other, we make assumptions that we have some common ground that you already understand
But
that
Exactly.
I don't have to.
but you know what? When with Macs or with OS 26,
Yeah.
especially with the Mac, based on what you said, plus going back to what I was talking about earlier,
Mhm.
the difference between Mac OS 26 settings
Mm-hmm.
and the Windows settings is night and day.
Yeah.
People will be able to go into settings and use them without any prior knowledge of anything. And I mean,
True.
Chris, do you think that it's gotten to that point almost with
Well,
set?
and I think not only has it done that, but it's gotten that way consistently across all of Apple's
No.
platforms. So
But you
yeah, I think
can't
that's very
just,
true. And when you use Windows, even now,
I get lost in there.
the Windows set, and not everything is in Windows settings. Some of it you have to
Yep.
go back to the old control
Cool. You got
panel,
to go back
which was
to
supposed to
control panel.
which was supposed to have been abandoned years ago because there's something still missing. And okay, you go over here for this, but you can go over here for this and get more details, or it's the same thing, but you can get more advanced details, and whatever it is. The point is, and then sometimes even that doesn't work, and you have to go to the registry and tweak something.
Yep.
It's like it's not intuitive. There's nothing intuitive in the way Windows works. There's just not.
Well, the way
Agreed.
settings is laid out in 26 is
Well,
beautiful. I mean,
it
Well,
really is. It really is.
I don't want this to turn into a
no,
So
to
there
a
you go.
Microsoft
no, not
pissing
really.
match because we don't have Bill here to give us the theme song and the wheel
They
spin.
well,
But
and Microsoft is more than happy to give us another example tomorrow. So
it's very, very
here we
true.
go.
So instead, I'm going to
Let's
move
go
us
talk
to
about
our
something happier.
I'm
Talk
going
about
to
something
move us
happier.
to the tip of the week segment. But
There.
before we get
Okay.
to our actual tip, I want to remind everybody that, iTechGear was founded with the intent of making technology easy for everyone to use and understand. And this team specifically is dedicated their writing careers to that specific purpose. And every week we're going to have a computing tip as part of the show, authored by one of our experienced editors. And questions, concerns, comments, suggestions, etc., can be sent to tips@itechgear.org. And if we use your questions, concern, comments, or so whatever, then we're going to give you your 15 seconds of fame and let you bask in the
That's very
glory
nice of
you were
us.
mentioned on the show.
That's
So
very generous of us.
I'm like that.
I
I'm,
hear that.
yeah. So anyway, um, I want to, yes, I want to go ahead though, and I want to. We've been talking a lot about betas in the Windows segment. We talked about it in the
We did.
mobile set. We talked about throughout the entire show, and I do want to go ahead and I want to talk to everybody, that we've warned. There are gotchas that we've been giving everybody warnings. Don't put this on a production piece of equipment or
Yeah.
something that you depend on right away, because something bad could happen. Or look, you really need to be careful, because if you do that and you do put it on a piece of equipment that you really rely on, and something twists sideways for you, you're gonna there you may not have any way of recovering. Well, case in point, I
You
wanted to
did
go.
this, didn't
I
you?
I
Yes, you
did.
did.
Well, it's not that I ran into a problem, because the Watch Ultra 2 is working and working just fine. The problem is, though, I had to reset my iPhone, because I wanted to get company mail on the phone, and they don't support the 26s yet.
And the watch hangs off the phone.
And the
So
watch hangs off the phone. So once you update your Apple Watch to any beta version of an operating system, it cannot be uninstalled. So once you get there, you're there. There's no return ticket.
And that's the only device that Apple makes that's like that.
As I understand it, yes.
well,
Now,
it's also the only device they make that you cannot directly update. You have to use another device to update it.
you must have a phone.
Yeah, that's
You must
it's a
have an
different
iPhone.
model.
No
Yeah,
cables, right?
No
yeah.
cable, no cables. It's
No
all
over
done
the
through
air, nothing
Bluetooth and
direct.
Wi-Fi.
It's
And
all
it's
hung off an iPhone. Yeah,
all tethered to your iPhone, not your iPad, but your iPhone. All
right.
right. Which I find to be somewhat sad. I think you should be able to do it with an
Awkward. Yeah,
iPhone. I think you should be
yeah.
able to do it with an iPad. You can do it with an iPhone, but I think you should be able to do it with an iPad, but that's just me. Anyway, the
Uh,
point is,
I think you should be able to do it directly, but yeah.
but the point is, once the
Mhm.
beta is on there, it cannot be uninstalled. However, there
Interesting.
is a small ray of light.
And what's that?
All right. Um, if you want to get the beta off of your watch, you've gotta have it off your watch. You don't have cellular. You've got Wi-Fi. All right. Um, so it can't function on its own. Um, you can send it to Apple, and they will do something and send you the watch back. However, you have to understand that there may be as much as a $500 charge to either
Hmm.
exchange your
Buy a new
watch.
watch.
All right.
Less money.
All right. To exchange your watch, or to have the beta removed and or the latest version of the released operating system installed. All right. So
Yeah.
you've really got to watch what you put on the watch, whether or not, you've got this problem. I did not recall this. So, and after I kind of did this, I was like, oh, well, crap.
And folks, when you install a beta, they do give you plenty of warnings, but
They
who
do.
reads them all?
They do. And
Who
I
reads
have
them
nobody
all?
to blame. I have nobody to blame for this particular situation but myself. However,
But at least we can be an example for our audience.
absolutely. And the watch is functional. It is connected via cellular.
Yep.
All
It
right, so
didn't
I'm
brick
still
or
getting
anything, right?
notifications. I'm still getting notifications. It's still collecting data. Blah 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 blah. All right, because
Blah
it's
blah
all
blah.
connected through my Apple account. But
Yeah.
It's the
even
Okay.
still,
one thing that I don't put a beta on for some reason. I never put it on a watch. I just
yeah.
don't.
So
All of my
uh,
other devices have
I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. You know.
Well, good for you.
it.
So there you go. So I want to go ahead then with that particular caution for everybody. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move us to our pick of the week segment. But I'm going to go ahead and take a moment here to remind everybody that our show picks are typically hardware, software, and other items of interest that we have individually purchased and that we actually use and that we like enough that we want to recommend them to you, our growing listener base. These are not paid advertisements. These are not items for which we have any kind of affiliated marketing relationship with. These are simply things that we believe in. And if we did have those relationships, do you know what we would do, Chris?
What would we do?
We would let them. Well, we have an editorial policy
We
over at
do.
iTech.
We
We
have to
do.
follow
We have
that?
we have a policy,
And we have to
we have to
follow it?
follow
It's
it.
one. Yeah, and we have to follow it. It says that if we
Jeez,
do have any of those things, we
I'm
have to
very disappointed.
disclose those things up front. Again, these are
Oh,
just things that we sincerely believe in and that we want to
okay.
bring them to you at the end of each show. Why?
Because
Because
we
we like
like
you.
you.
Y'all suck.
Yeah, we do.
Just the two of you, and you couldn't get it.
I tell you.
Someday my prince will come. There you go. Anyway, so
Eh,
Larry, you've got the pick this week. What do you got?
Well, one of the nice things about our picks is we often stray from the technological or the technology toys and we talk about other things like coffee or
we
whatever,
do.
We do.
jewelry, who knows, but things that we do find useful and we've done the vetting process for whatever it was, and we think we've come up with the best version of whatever it is. And recently, we wanted to have this relatively new house that we have is didn't come with lights under the counters, which are quite
Oh,
necessary. So
They're very
I,
handy. They're
they're
very
very
handy.
handy to see things like when you make coffee. So I set out to find what I thought was the best under counter lighting possible. And I solicited the help of my longtime electrical guy who does our electrician work. And he recommended this set, says that he has installed them on many, 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 many under-counter installations and other places, garages, whatever. He said they're absolutely phenomenal when put in properly, installed correctly. It's a continuous light. You don't see little spots here and there like you do on some of the cheaper ones. And this is actually quite inexpensive, but it's called the Light Ever Under Counter Light Strip Kit. And one kit contains 6 light strips about a foot long, and you put them under each of your cabinets. That's typically enough for one kitchen. We needed 2. We needed like 1 or 2 extra, I think. So we bought 2, but they're only $69 a piece. Now
Mm-hmm.
we did have him do the installation, so you can
It
do
was
it
done
by
right.
simply just hiding the wires yourself and plugging it into one of the handy plugs that are right on the back of the counter, above your countertop. But if you wanted it
Sure.
totally hidden, you have to get an electrician to fish wires around and hide everything, and that's what we did. But anyway, it's really nice. You can get it in a 3K soft white or a 5K daylight white brighter version, which we did opt for because it seems like all the newer homes have the bright white lighting instead of the old yellow warm light.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know which one I like best, but I chose to match what we had. Anyway, wonderful product. Anybody with the least bit of a handyman ability could put this thing together. But if you look on Amazon, there's probably 100 of these things that are all supposedly good. But I
Mm-hmm.
think this is probably the best one out there for the money. Anyway, that's it. 69 bucks. The link's in the show notes, and it's a great
Good
product.
deal.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, you know what, the kids, that's the end of the show. That's
Is
it.
it?
I ain't got nothing else this week because that's it. Because Randall says it's time to stop. So, but this has been.
Randall does say it's time to stop. He does.
There
say
you go.
that.
So this has been the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 140. Randall says we can start, and now says we have to stop. Recorded live Sunday, August 3rd, 2025, live from iTechGear Central for Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin, Mr. Chris Gavula, and our missing brother, Joel McLaughlin. This is Christopher Spera saying, hey, we will see you next time.